Hi, I'm so much excited to be here and to talk about Dart. I'm Anna Modra, and today I would love to show you how you can build an app using a Dart and Firebase. So, before I start, I will show you, or I will tell you who am I. I'm from Prague, in Czech Republic. I have there a company called Juicima, where we do mobile and web development. And I'm also a Google developer expert for Dart, because I love to talk about Dart. And last but not least, I'm a teacher at the university because I love to teach and to teach developers. So, today I would love to show you how you can build a great and cool applications using Dart and Firebase, and how you can be so much productive with them. So, let's start with me and Dart. Why I do love Dart so much. Dart makes me so much productive and happy developer, because I often say that when I'm writing Dart applications, I just sit and write a code which works. That's awesome. And also, I know what's happening there. I can't explain my happiness with this because, yeah, it works, and I know why it works and how it works. And I can build a great application with Dart. But great applications need a backend. And backend, there might seem to be a lot of work in implementing backends because, well, you have to have a developer who will implement that backend, and there has to be a lot of stuff to do. So, for example, you have to have a database. So you have to set up a database, select the database, and do a lot of stuff around the database. Then you, for example, want to have a file upload, and you want to have some users in your application. So you have to implement login, registration, sign out, and also, like users forget their password, so you have to also implement forget password function. Then you would love to have anonymous user implement OAuth, or you have to have some hosting for your application. And it's quite a lot of work if you have a simple application. A lot of work to do. Well, and this girl doesn't really love implementing backends because they are not very much enjoyable to her because there is no design and colors at the backend. And worse, she would love to have a backend without implementing backend. What we can do with this? Because this girl doesn't love implementing backends, she doesn't want to hire a developer for that, so what can we do? Say hello to a service called Firebase. With Firebase, you can have a lot of nice services, features. You can have a real-time database, authentication, cloud storage, hosting, and more. And they are so easy to implement, and you can then focus on much more important stuff. And I have a great news for you, because here we are at Dart Summit. We want to hear about Dart. So you can use Firebase with Dart by using Firebase free package I implemented. The Firebase free package is a package which is around JS interrupt. You heard about how to implement JS interrupt today. So I'm using the new JS interrupt, like the bottom layer, and there is also a wrapper around the JS interrupt to provide you developers a nicer and better developer API and experience. So what about the experience? What's the better experience with this wrapper? Well, types. I have to say I love types, and I love using them. So with this Firebase free package, you can use types, and you can benefit from it. Like, for example, when you are using code completion, it's better for documentation, and so on. Features. I love features, especially the async await. So lots of methods in this Firebase free package return feature, and you can use it. Streams. We don't want to implement some callbacks. Like, streams are much more nicer for this. We can listen on streams, we can filter them, and then we can do some functionality when some even happens. Methods. You might heard today that there is like some allow interrupt. So don't worry about this, because with this Firebase free package, you don't have to care about any allow interrupt. You just pass Dart as a parameter functions, which are normal Dart functions without any allow interrupt. So, but that's all cool stuff. But Jana, show us something. Show us some demo. So let's go. So I have a simple web application, which is kind of node board. Here you can see that I can just somehow sign in, and I'm just having here some nodes. So let's do first the sign in. I have signed in with Google, so I will sign in. There's some time because I have the full screen, and yes, now I'm signed in with Google. So this is implemented with Firebase authentication, and I'm now signed in. Now you can see that lots of nodes I'm able to create a new node, or also I'm able to delete a node. So let's start with creating a new node. So let's create a new node. Dart Summit is awesome. And let's add the node. And this is implemented with Firebase, Dart and Firebase, and you can see that the node appeared immediately. Okay, posting new nodes. So let's put there some image. So I'll put there an image. I have here prepared my image of my earrings, and which are Dart earrings, and I have to write their node tag. So Dart earrings, and let's post them there. And they appeared immediately again. So I can refresh, and you can see all the nodes I did there. So I'll show you another thing, because all the clients which are connected to this web page are able to post their data when they load with their Google login. And then if they post some node, the node appears in all clients. So I will do this with my mobile phone. So let's do that. So I'll write here node, summit, and let's take a picture. So I'll do a picture of the screen. And then I'll post it, and not posted yet. So now I'm loading the image, and now I'll post it. And you can see it appeared immediately. This application is simple, but it's fully implemented in Dart and Firebase using this library. So let's get back to my presentation. So how you can build a net like this? Let's take a look. So first thing what you need to know is to find the Firebase free package. It's available on the pub, so you can put it in your pub/swag YAML file, then you can do the pub get, you will get it, and you can use it. So then you have to import it, and because, as I already said, the package is like a wrapper around interop, you have to also include, or you have to remember to include the original JavaScript SDK of Firebase to your HTML file, because it's a wrapper around interop. So this is the import. And then what we can use? We can use all services that real-time database, authentication, cloud storage, and hosting. So let's take a look at real-time database. Real-time database is cloud-hosted database, which uses JSON to store the data. So let's take a look how we can structure our data. Data are JSON, so you can see here nodes. So there is one node, the node has some key and some attribute. And then let's take a look how can we load the data to our application. This is a code from my app. And so we are listening to some child edit event. So we put there on our database ref, we put on child edit stream, and then we start listen to that stream. And if there are new data added to our application, new node is added, then we get to the listen part, we get the snapshot of the data, then we can get a value from them, which is a map. And we can, for example, create a new node and show it. So that was simple. Then we want to save the data, because when we want to load data, we have to also save data, because we need to have some data. Saving is really simple. You have your database ref, so you call push, and with the push, you put there like some nice Dart objects, so it can be list, or here you can see a map, which is then pushed to the server, to the Firebase server, and we are using async away because we are having their futures. So that was pretty simple. We can do more stuff. We can do also update, or we can do update in transactions. We can also do delete on the data. And it's only about calling some methods which are available because of the Firebase. And this took us about 15 minutes of implementation. So let's take a look more on authentication. Authentication, because we want to have some users in our application. So we want to be able to log in, log out, register, or so on. And our application used a Google login. So we have there a Google provider. So how to do this? Let's create new Google Auth provider and then call the method called sign-in with pop-up with that provider on your auth object, and you are done. That's all. You can also have other providers. There is for Twitter, GitHub, Facebook. You can implement your own, or you can implement an email provider if you want to have like the standard email, login, logout, and so on. Sometimes you want to get your current user in the application. This is really simple. Just call out current user, and you will get the current user in your application, which is logged in, and you can get the image about the user, you get the name, email address, and so on. And also, I mentioned the email provider. If you want to implement, for example, the registration, there is a method called create user with email and password, which you will call on your out object, and then, the user is registered, you will get the user, and you can, display the profile or whatever. So authentication is also really simple. You are just calling some method which does the stuff for you on Firebase. So let's say that this took us 5 minutes. Let's take a look at cloud storage, because sometimes we want to be able to upload some files to our server, which we have in our application because we have their image upload. So let's take a look how to do this. So first, you need to get the file. So somehow you get the file, and then you need to call on your storage reference. You need to call the put method, but you need to also put there a path to that file. So you are calling child with the file name, and then you call the method put, which will upload the file to the cloud storage. And because we want to use futures, we will call future to use the async away and so on. And then when we have the image uploaded, we can get the download URL from the snapshot. So again, cloud storage implementation of this file upload was really easy, 10 minutes. You can do more, and you can find everything in documentation, and it's really easy to implement. So I'll show you how you could implement the application which uses Dart and Firebase very fast. Dart provides you nice types, better productivity, nice API, and Firebase provides you great services which you can use, and you don't have to implement them. And you can focus on much more important stuff. Dart and Firebase are so cool and great partners together. Maybe you want to ask where you can get this. So the library is already on the pub, so you can search there for the Firebase free. You will find it there. It's also on GitHub, so you can download it easily. And finally, I want to say, you can also build an app like this using Dart and Firebase. Thank you.